Hi everybody, it's Dave here from Apple FX. We do MacBook repairs, whether it's MacBook Pros, MacBook Airs, iPads, iPhones or even the iMacs. Today we're here to talk about the MacBook Pro. It's the A1278, the older 15.4 inch screen, and this one's in for just dead. It's nothing at all. Battery's fine, mains power adapter's fine. It has had liquid damage, but most of the time people think that it's popped the motherboard or logic board. It isn't. It's generally the keyboard that goes with liquid damage, and I'm going to go into detail on that one for you. So this is the MacBook Pro, A1278, and as you can see we have fully charged up, full green light on the power adapter, but when you press the power button, nothing at all. And what generally happens is, if you look at a replacement keyboard, is the power button is attached to the keyboard itself. So if you've had liquid damage on any of this part or anywhere near the power button, that's the reasons why it won't turn on, and I'm going to demonstrate to you how to replace. So as you can see, I've took the base off the machine, disconnected the power supply. I'm going to disconnect the battery. I've removed the screws already, so I'm going to take the battery out. The main reason is make sure it's totally disconnected from the mains supply. Battery's disconnected because if you short anything out, last thing you want to do is pop or short circuit the motherboard itself or the logic board. So first part is to remove the hard drive, which is just the two screws itself. Another screw there, and this lifts up the bracket that holds it in place. Then the hard drive will lift, pull out the connector, and that's your hard drive out. The next part, we have to remove the DVD drive and remove the logic board itself, so we can get to the whole keyboard underneath there. So here we're at the halfway stage. I've actually got both cooling fans out, the DVD drive and the Wi-Fi connection board, where you've got your Wi-Fi, your Bluetooth aerials in your screen, which connects to the motherboard with a long ribbon cable. One thing to note when you're stripping with MacBooks is always try and put your screws where you take them out. So if you lay them out on the table right to where the holes are, you know exactly where to put it when you're putting it all back together. Other thing is, while you're stripping your machine, you might as well give it a service. So whatever machine we strip down for repairs or upgrades is, if you check here, look, this is all accumulated in the fan modules, in the fan section, sorry. Clean all these out. You can get canned air from a lot of places now. Literally call it compressed gas duster. Just clean all your fans out, clean all the fluff out, because if these get fully blocked up, you'll find your machine will just keep overheating. And the A1278 with the dual graphics chip, it tends to take out the high-end side of the graphics. Well, as you can see, the motherboard is out, or logic board. If you've noticed, this one's really covered in dust, so we'll give this a clean down. Don't use anything that's liquid based, literally canned air. I know you can use a very soft brush, delicate component, so just be careful. So here we are, it's all back, nice and clean, dust free. If you're super confident, what you can do is undo the other 6 screws, take the heatsink off and apply new thermal compound. Same again, a good clean, very minute small amount of thermal paste. It should be no bigger than a pea, even that is too much. On these sort of chips, half of that is adequate. And now we're back to the body of the MacBook Pro, all nice and clean again. but we've got further stripping to do because we need to now get to the keyboard under the section you can see, which is this dark black section. This is for the backlit keyboard section, which lights up when you power the MacBook up. Right, so there we go. The light under the keyboard's all removed. It does peel off fairly easily. Sometimes if they're very badly liquid damaged, you'll have to replace that as well. Just be careful because the touchpad connections under there and the keyboard connections underneath the whole of the lights under the keyboard section. So next part we've got to do is actually remove the keyboard itself. This little cover on there, it just spreads the light all the way across the keyboard for when your light's on. It just peels off, and if you look here you'll see the screws going all the way around. I don't know how many there is, but all I will remember is it's a slow process because there's, I think it's at least 30 screws in there. Very small. It does take some time, so we'll be back soon. Right, that's all the screws taken out, and then the keyboard just lifts up, and if you do look at this you will see there's screws all the way across the bottom, screws all the way across the top, and then screws down between every section. So it does take a while. So there you go, all screws out, 2 screws in the top corner, gets the power button section out as well. So now we're ready for the new keyboard. Well, I'm halfway around at fitting the screws. Just a bit of a tip for anybody. These screws are so small, and there's a hell of a lot of them, that if you drop a screw or you knock one and you can't find it, make sure you find it. On a couple of occasions when I've been doing these machines, is one of the screws is come off my screwdriver even though it's magnetic, so they do hold on, and they fell into one of these holes, and what happens is it gets underneath the keyboard, so when you're pressing the key, when you've finished, the key doesn't work because the screw stops it from making the connection or going fully down to make that key operate. And the last thing I want is you building it all back together and finding out a key don't work because you've not found the screw that you've dropped. So please, for your own benefit, if you drop a screw, find it. It'll be there somewhere. It might take you a while to find it. It just saves you a lot of grief afterwards when you've finished completely putting it back together. Right, that's all the screws fitted. I've got none missing in my set, but a good top tip for you: if you do actually lose a screw and you still can't find it, it's gone under a key somewhere, the best way of finding it is open up your MacBook and literally just press all the keys. I know it's time consuming, but if you just literally check every key to make sure, and if you have got a screw stuck somewhere and you cannot find it, this way you'll know exactly which key it could be stuck under. What's it, an extra minute or two just checking every key, make sure there's no screw stuck under there. There we go, all good. Right, we'll carry on. Right, so there we go, new keyboard fitted, the upper section fitted on top of that, and the backlight re-put back into place. I have found some of these, if they get really badly water damaged, when you're trying to peel it off, because it's only like just sticky, they're really badly corroded, or should I say had that much water damage or coke or alcohol, that when you start to peel it, it just rips. They do work, it's only this section that tends to light up, but I would recommend getting a replacement. One thing to remember, and I've done it many a times, isn't it? Something I always forget about is when rebuilding, make sure you put this cross section back in before fitting the motherboard, because what happens is you fit the motherboard back into place, you've got to put your screw in there and you go, oops, this doesn't fit, and you cannot get that part in once the motherboard's back in place. So there we go, motherboard refitted. A couple of things to note. If you can see now, my heatsink section is all nice and clean, so I just like getting a brand new machine again. The other thing to note for is the screen connection. Be very careful with this. They're very expensive to replace, and if you bust both sides of it, it's a replacement ribbon cable back through to the screen as well. The clip does lock down, so it doesn't come back out. Just another top tip when fitting your DVD drive again. These two screws down here are very awkward, and if you find that you keep dropping it in and then you can't get it in, it's an absolute nightmare if you've not got magnetic screwdrivers. One way is just put a little bit of glue on the tip, and that way the screw will stay on end of your screwdriver when screwing them in. Also, don't tighten them up until you've got all three screws back in, because you'll find a lot of people's mistake is they tighten one up, they can't get the next one in, they can't get the next one in. So leave them all loose until all three are almost down, and then tighten them up. Right, so there we go, motherboard all refitted, connections all back on. Another tip, if you're wanting to check to see if it is the keyboard before you start stripping it to a million pieces, is under this section here is the keyboard connector. You can connect your new keyboard in there first and see if the machine powers up. That way you will know for definite whether it's a keyboard fault. There we go, fully rebuilt, all connections checked, battery reconnected, and then we're just going to open it up, and then now we can test the machine just to see if it starts up. So there you go, bottom cover back on, all screws back in place, power adapter reconnected to make sure that's working all okay again. Test the power button, which is working fine. I've turned it on and off a couple of times. We'll just wait and see when it comes to the password. As we do repairs, we don't really normally require a customer's password. We're not interested in what's in there, but you can generally test all the keys, even on the password login section, just by pressing each key. We'll just wait for it to finish booting up. I do recommend upgrading the MacBook Pros from 4GB to 8GB of RAM, and the hard drive itself to an SSD, a solid state disk. The solid state disk drives are 10 times faster than a normal hard drive, and because there's no moving parts, they tend to find that hard to break as well. So there we go, we've got the login screen. It just testers keyboard. We can go through every key if we needed to. Just take it off, just keep testing. When it's ready, go, keep taking keys off. Password ready again, so keep testing keys. There, looking good. Yep, and there we go. Fully repaired machine. All for this. Just required a replacement keyboard with power button connected to the keyboard.